Alright, hello and welcome back. My name is Myre, and this time we're checking out the Loremaker's community questions. So, I believe this is a new weekly thing from CIG that they're going to be doing from now on, where they answer lore questions from the community so that they can help, inform different things in the verse. So, I guess let's go ahead and just check it out, shall we? Alright, so it says here, welcome to Loremaker's Community Questions, a series focused on answering your lore questions. We've done a deep dive through the Lore Ask a Dev section and selected 10 questions to answer about the Star Citizen universe. So all questions were slightly edited for context and clarity, but you can click on the topic to go directly to the original post and join the conversation. Also, the narrative team plans to do one installment of Loremaker's community questions every quarter, with the next entry scheduled for Tuesday, September the 7th. So please join the discussion and drop any other questions you might have about the universe in our Ask a Dev forum. So again, I do have a question myself to ask about Hurston and stuff, because of course that's like my favorite planet, but let's go ahead and have a look. So, who was behind the assassination attempt on Imperator Costigan? So the question, so were the perpetrators ever caught, or is there still an open bounty out there? So Imperator Costigan is was the Imperator, the leader of the human empire, before of course we voted for, I believe, was it Mirango who won? I forget, maybe it was her, maybe it wasn't. It's been a while. I think it was Miran. So the answer is, sorry bounty hunters, but there's no open bounty related to the attempted assassination of Imperator Costigan. The advocacy identified Maurice Vano, who was killed fleeing the scene, as the sole attacker and considers the case closed. Still, some find it hard to believe that Vano acted alone, particularly in circumventing strict security measures, and wonder if accomplices might still be out there. For a quick recap, news first broke during an Empire report that revealed shots were fired at Imperator Costigan during the Banking Federation Summit in New York City, a landing zone to be coming sometime in the future. So Imperator Costigan escaped unharmed, but one member of his security detail, the elite 1st Marine Combat Battalion, was killed and several Marines and civilians injured in the crossfire. 2 weeks later, the advocacy held a press conference where they identified Maurice Vano as the assailant. They didn't reveal much past Vano's name, and that his system contained a significant amount of etam, a Xian drug known to produce intense and dangerous side effects in humans, though not necessarily illegal, and you can actually do a mission with Wallace Claim in the verse to actually move this around. A new United investigation into Vano revealed him to be a former Navy starman turned mercenary with ties to several xenophobic organizations. The assassination attempt occurred amidst debate around the Human Xian Trade Initiative, or HUJA, leading some to speculate that Imperator Costigan's support for HUJA motivated Vano to attack. And of course, the newest Imperator is going to be even more pro-alien relations, so we're most likely going to hear about an attempt on her life at some point as well. So since the press conference, the advocacy has remained tight-lipped about the incident and investigation. This silence has only fed conspiracy theories, several which firebrand Parker Terrell floated on an episode of Plain Truth. Could Teveran Separatist or Xian crime syndicates have financed and helped plan the attack? Parker asked the question, but doesn't seem too interested in answering it himself. Instead, he railed against the advocacy for using the incident as cover to access financial records and files of business or groups that had even a passing association with Vano. All that said, the incident is considered closed by the advocacy, but there's a chance unnamed co-conspirators might be out there. And if their ultimate motivations truly were against the further opening of trade between the UEE and Xian empires, then they're probably even more displeased with current Imperator Addison. Oh, it's Leilani Addison, okay, not Mirango. Who wants to strengthen ties between the two empires even more. Alright, so how common are Asperia ships? So the question is, some seems weird having a recreation of a 400-year-old alien ship as one of the most powerful, affordable, and common ships in the game from arguably one of the most expensive and high-end manufacturers. And I think I know exactly who asked this question. So, answer. From a narrative perspective, Asperia is definitely still a high-end manufacturer. They began as a small niche company that collected and archived old ship blueprints until the company transformed in 2877 when Asperia's founders, brothers Jovi and Theo Ingstrom, successfully repaired a broken glaive. The UEE Navy, UEEN, quickly hired them as consultants to build and repair Vandal ships to be used in training exercises. When original Teveran ships models were discovered in Cabal, Asperia was given special access to them, leading to the release of the Prowler and eventually the Talon. So, though they may make specialized ships, the company is definitely big enough and popular enough to produce the large number of replicas seen flying around the Empire. As for the price point, while they consider their pieces functional collectibles, the brothers have always wanted to make history as accessible to as many people as possible when the manufacturing allows for it. Okay then. I guess it still doesn't necessarily explain why a 400-year-old ship is still as popular as it is, but anyway. So exactly how prominent Asperia's ships will be in the game is still to be seen. Part of it depends on how popular their ships are with players, which is relatively popular because of how OP they are, which is something we can't predict. It's great if you're seeing a lot of Asperia ships in game because it means players are attracted to the unique design and function and how OP they are. The variety of ships and frequency with which you see them around the verse will always be in flux, but the goal is to create a diverse group of ships so players aren't encountering the same few over and over again. Asperia's fleet of unique ships definitely help diversify the field. The hope is to eventually be able to further diversify the ships you will encounter as we continue to expand the presence of NPCs in the universe and the ships they'll fly, and also change how OP they are. So, obviously, you know, with capacitor gameplay and the rebalancing of everything coming out with 3.14, it might be, you know, like the end of all, you know, how popular Asperia talents and stuff are. We might see a mass melting, who knows? Alright, so voting in the last Imperator election. So question, since I voted in the Imperator election, does that mean I am a citizen of the United Empire of Earth? From what I understood, I thought we had to do something to earn citizenship. Have those plans changed? So the answer is plans have not changed. Only citizens will be able to vote for Imperator in-game, though specifics around how this will be handled still need to be determined. Still, we just thought it would be an opportunity for players to participate in the recent Imperator election and help shape the future of the UEE. Holding a vote on the RSI website was a fun way to get the community engaged with the election being held in the game world, where that pesky citizenship rule would be enforced. Hopefully, the process was something people enjoyed and might even motivate some to attain citizenship in-game to participate in future elections. So obviously in Star Citizen, they talk about how citizenship should be earned, right? So either I imagine through servers, through buying and playing Squadron 42, or through other means we don't necessarily know about in the future. But yeah, it'd be very interesting if certain lore-related aspects within Star Citizen are kind of locked behind having to earn this citizenship thing first. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Alright, so here's a picture of the Carrack in its natural habitat, and the question that goes with it says Imperial Cartography Center and the Carrack. So, the ICC. For those who remember Tessa Bannister of the ICC scanning for jump points and stuff, the question goes, the Imperial Cartography Center, or ICC, is described as being a government organization that's responsible for overseeing virtually all the major map-making operations in the verse, including charting newly discovered jump points and star systems. Was the Carrack strictly a UEE Navy Pathfinder before it was declassified, or did the ICC also use it for their cartography needs? So the answer is the UE Navy exclusively used the Carrack until a civilian variant was released in 2938, leaving the ICC to use other exploration ships for all their cartography needs until then. The ICC is an extremely vital government organization though, so the Navy would have most likely shared new mapping data with them until they landed their own Carrack. So, if you're interested in more Carrack lore, we published a Whitley's Guide focused on the Carrack in Jump Point 8.2. It touched upon the complications of bringing the ship to civilian marketing, which included a complete rewrite of the ship's sensor suite, and mentioned several notable Carracks and their discoveries. Okay. So, food flavors. Interesting. So, I have been working on replicating food from the game for fun, and there are 3 fruits I can't find any flavor details on. Can you describe the flavors of Lunas, Chibanzu, and Blue Bolivia? Alright, so of course, to say the narrative team took great joy in developing new food for the game would be a gross understatement. Here is the specific flavors called out for each fruit. So Lunas. When ripe, the Lunas is a very sweet and juicy flavor and has become a very popular summer delicacy, commonly found in ice cream and other desserts. So they don't actually help the poor guy out and tell them what it tastes like. Most fruit are sweet. CIG. Alright, so Chibanzu. It's a sweet, extremely tart berry that is high in tannins and has a mouth-drying effect when eating, so like wine grapes, I guess. The cluster of small black pointy seeds in each berry's center are not eaten, as they are very bitter. So Blue Bolivia. So the Blue Bolivia is known for its distinctive rich flavor, which is highly astringent, so it has like a drying effect, aromatic, and very high in fructose. It is commonly eaten dried and turned into brandy. Okay. So quantum-sensitive materials. So the question here is, as a game mechanic, quantum-sensitive materials make sense, but I'm curious what its role is in the universe. Can we get more lore behind quantum-sensitive materials? So yeah, in the verse right now, you have a mission where you have to like move things across a planet or a moon without going into quantum travel, otherwise the materials will explode. They talked about how in the future this might lead to you as a player having to go ahead and pre-purchase these stabilizers to put into your ship to be able to move these things, you know, greater distances. So the answer is, here is the lore behind the quantum-sensitive material currently being slow-boated around Stanton. So Diluthermex, an extremely heat-resistant epoxy often used in the mounting and repair of ship thrusters. It is considered very difficult to transport in its uncured state as it becomes explosively unstable when exposed to Chan-Eisen fields during quantum travel. Specialized containers must be used to transport the epoxy long distances, as we saw in the Xenothreat event, and again, we might be able to get for our ships if we purchase them. So once set and cured, the Diluthermex is no longer reactive. So items using a processed version of the Diluthermex have no issues with quantum travel. As development continues, the narrative team will keep working with designs to create materials that lead to diverse and interesting gameplay scenarios. Alright, so why is the Xian named the Santok Yai, not the Santok Yai Ai? Oh, Al, like Cartu Al. Why is it the Santok Yai and not the Santok Yai Al? So the question, which I'm imagining is from Jail, who is like the citizen out there who is like, who's learned Xian, who writes Xian. I think Chris Harrow does as well. So, Apoa gave the Kair Kartu the Al designation to distinguish the human export version of the ship. Why wasn't Al used for the Santok Yai? So the answer is, this is an interesting question because it gives insight into how the Xian language was developed. The Kartu was named prior to the development of the Xian language, and the Al added to make a clear distinction between human and Xian variants. When the language was developed, we shared everything established in lore with Britton Watkins, who is the linguist who made Xian, Van Duel, and every other language in the game. Before that, of course, he's been known for helping with New Klingon as well as High Valyrian from Game of Thrones. So, who developed the language and produced the extensive Xian language overview, which is like 1,000 pages or something? Check out page 117 and you will see that al can be written and used in several ways, including outgoing, external, projecting, externally, depart, exit, or export. So al can mean export, but it also is used a lot in different ways. One of the team's personal favorites being al, with the macron over a denoting a slightly different pronunciation and meaning subconscious meditation, fugue meditation, or reverie. A really wonderful way to tie the word to the Xian tradition of deep meditation, taking them out of space and time because they live for so goddamn long. So now, in the lore, the in-lore reason behind the ship being named the Santok Yai instead of the Santok Yai Al is pretty simple. That's how Apoa's marketing team decided to sell it to the UEE. Having now spent years exporting ships to the UEE market, Apoa seems content to move away from using AL on their export models, as neither the NOx nor the NOx-Q carry the designation either. This could be a sign that the Xian and their language are becoming more entrenched in the UEE life, or that they simply wanted the literal translation of Santok Yai, ship that creates genuine fear, to stand on its own. Otherwise, it would be like Santok Yai Al, ship that creates genuine fear and contemplative meditation about said fear and dread. Anyway, so, what's the founding date on Whammers? Does it have one? 2801. So, question. Whammers makes delicious food and was founded in 2801. That makes this year its 150th year anniversary. What was the exact date that Whammers was founded, and so that we can celebrate in style? Oh, okay. So being in business for 150 years is definitely worth celebrating. Since we haven't established a founding date, now seems like a perfect time to do it. So August the 7th, 2801. So I guess any like lore hungry people might be seen around the verse at Whammers eating Whammers burgers, or eating burgers on stream, or whatever. So to celebrate Whammers sesquicentennial, be sure to visit the location and grab some grub. No, I'll be enjoying number 2 Craven meal, which comes with a Wham Burger Deluxe, Zesty Whirls, and a soda. Okay. So who or what is Lorville named after? So how did Lorville get its name? So the answer. Good question. First, the name Lorville was picked because we thought it sounded cool while evoking the idea of company towns that inspired the location. Once we had chosen something that captured the feel we were after, we went ahead and explored why Hurston Dynamics would have made the same choice. Here's the never-before-seen history of how the city got its name. So, in 2865, Hurston Dynamics purchased the planet that would come to bear its name and began the minor terraforming required to make it habitable. Meanwhile, the planet was thoroughly scanned to locate the most resource-rich sectors. Areas with little resource value were repurposed for factories, research centers, and weapon testing, which is why you see all those craters everywhere as you fly about Hurston. Or in the case of one particular large swath of land filled with cheap structures to house on-world workers. Hurston assigned this area the 3-letter designation LOR for local occupational residency, and required all on-world workers to live there. No one knows who first called the location Lorville, but the term quickly became popular among workers, many of whom were locked into long-term work contracts and knew they wouldn't be leaving anytime soon. Alright, so that's probably also likely why as you fly over Lorville you can see that around like the suburby kind of areas of it, there are like dilapidated buildings and stuff and places you can't really go to. So by 2877, the Hurston family realized their vision of building large, lush estates for members of the family across the planet would significantly reduce their ability to extract resources, pollute, and/or test weapons on the land around it. Instead, the family decided to make the lore both the business and residential center for the entire planet. And construction of the Central Tower began, the CBD, the Central Business District. By then, the name Loreville was so ubiquitous that company records even used it, and as far as is known, no real consideration was given to changing it. Alright, so the Indefatigable class battleship. So this post mentions the UEE Navy having an Indefatigable class of battleships. So in Star Citizen, you have the Idris class, the Bengal class, you have the Hammerhead class. So this is about the Indefatigable, it's a name so long and so long-winded that I don't think anybody would buy because they wouldn't be able to pronounce. So is that still a thing, or is that just a myth? So the Indefatigable class of battleships was used by the UEE Navy against the Vanduul early in the conflict, but are now outdated and no longer in service, which goes to prove that the ships themselves were not in fact indefatigable. That's kind of funny. So the thing is though, I mean, like within Star Citizen, there isn't really like this history of like having older ships and building upon them and making them like into what we now have today, but looking a bit older. I mean, the only thing we have really is the F7 and the F7A and that kind of thing. But like this Indefatigable, could it not have been like, what the Idris was before they retrofitted it? I'm thinking Star Wars here. Not Star Wars, the Star Trek, With Star Trek, you have the Enterprise, you have all these other different, like, kinds of, like, cruiser. They all look very similar, but, many of them, like the Vasquez, for instance, are, like, built upon pre-existing versions of ships in order to, like, make that world more rich. I don't know. Maybe that's the case with this. They haven't really expanded upon it, though. Alright, so that's that for the lore stuff. So this was, again, the Loremaker community questions. A bit different from what we usually do here on the channel, but if you guys do like it, it does seem to be something CIG are going to be doing going forwards weekly with the lore team. So if you did like this, if this was cool and you want to see more of it, please do feel free to like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below in the description. Oh, I keep saying the description, I'm so used to Twitch. Leave a comment down below in the comment section. What would you like to see them talk about and explain and that kind of thing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then though, as always, be good.